Has the stock market bottomed? Is the bear market over? I don't think so. In my opinion, what we've seen for the last few days here in the stock markets is just a counter-trend rally, and it will fail for a few reasons, which I'll go over in this video. Now, first of all, let's just look at some historical examples of previous bear markets. Now, if we look at what happened in 2008-2009, the Great Recession, you can see there are multiple examples where the market rallied anywhere from 18 to 25% in the space of a week to a few weeks, and then went on to make lower lows. These same patterns are even more obvious if you look at the 2000.com boom and bust, where you had very clear examples of counter-trend rallies. Now obviously most of these rallies took place over longer periods of time, 30 to 40 days, but as with everything we've seen on this market downturn, it appears that the time is somewhat compressed. It's fallen faster than in any other bear market in history, and so it is to be expected that any counter-trend rallies and temporary rebounds will be quick and violent as well. Now, if we look back to where the markets are at this moment now, we can see the sell-off was extremely violent and very fast, the fastest in history, as I had mentioned. The market was basically primed for a rebound. Conditions were extremely oversold, and on a daily chart we can see that there was definitely some bullish divergence forming here. If I were to pick a technical target as to where I think this rebound would eventually reverse and continue lower, I would say you would be looking at somewhere around the 270 to 290 level on the S&P 500. There is relatively significant resistance in this whole area here. Now keep in mind this is just my opinion here. I could be completely wrong, and we could be off to the races again, making all-time highs. Who knows? But in my opinion, that is not the most probable outcome here. Now let's take a look at the catalysts that I think triggered this rally beyond the technicals, the fundamental catalysts. I believe this bear market rally was triggered by two fundamental factors. One is the $2 trillion stimulus bill passed by Congress in an attempt to bail out the corporations and the people, and the second is the hope that this will all be over sooner than people were anticipating, and we will be able to reopen the economy, creating a very rapid V-shaped recovery. These hopes are, in my opinion, very misplaced and based not in reality but on unrealistic optimism. First, if you think this stimulus bill is going to save the economy, you're dreaming. And the politicians know it, that's why they want to reopen the economy. If you bail everyone out, but business remains suppressed and companies are not making any money, they will just need another bailout. Giving corporations and peoples piles of cash solves their short-term issues, but the longer-term issue is cash flow. If they aren't making any money, you just end up in the same situation of needing another bailout in another month or so. If you attempt to reopen the economy too early, you will have a resurgence in infections, and more people will die. That is just a fact. The argument for doing this isn't that it won't cause people to die, it's that if they don't reopen the economy, even more people will die due to the depression that will be triggered. But the thing is, even if you were to tell all the stores that they're allowed to reopen tomorrow, how many people would actually go out and frequent those businesses? In my opinion, not nearly as many as were before this global health crisis began. people are going to be very wary of going out for a while here, and telling them that they need to go out and buy things to save the economy at the risk of their own health is going to convince nobody. In my opinion, it will be a much more gradual process as the virus dies out and people slowly become more comfortable with going out like they used to. There's been a lot of talk in the last week here about reopening the economy and about how the solution to this global health crisis can't end up being worse than the cure. And what people are talking about there is avoiding basically a Great Depression-like scenario where the economic fallout is so catastrophic that it outweighs the health repercussions from this global crisis. I want to play a short clip here for you that is President Trump talking about how he would like to reopen this economy, the US economy, by Easter weekend, so in about 18 days from this recording date here.
You said something 20 minutes ago that I'm sure a lot of people were pretty keen on. You said that we would, I'm paraphrasing now, you would like to be back to normal by Easter Sunday.
Yes.
That's 19 days from now.
It's okay.
Is that true? Is that possible, or is that false?
I think it's possible. Why isn't it? I mean, we've never closed the country before, and we've had some pretty bad flus, and we've had some pretty bad viruses, and I think it's absolutely possible. Now, people are going to have to practice all of the social distancing and don't shake hands and wash your hands and all of the things that we're doing now.
So the measures he's talking about here, social distancing, practicing proper hygiene, all these are helpful for containing the spread of the virus. But in reality, this is a disease that is mostly primarily spread through just breathing. If it were enough to simply practice good hygiene and try to keep your distance from people, they wouldn't need to shut down all of these businesses. The thing is, if somebody is infected and they cough or sneeze, or in some cases even just breathe in the same room as you, you are at risk of getting the same infection. That's why it's necessary to pretty much shut down the economy. People wouldn't do this if it were not necessary. And it definitely is if you want to contain the spread of this virus.
But we have to get our country back to work. Our country wants to be back at work. That was not a controversial thing I said the other day. Our country wants to go back to work. And again, the cure, it's like this cure is worse than the problem. Again, many people, in my opinion, more people are going to die if we allow this to continue. We have to go back to work. Our people want to go back to work.
But what you have said consistently is the first order of business is to kill the virus. So when you look at the data from around the world and across our country, how do you determine that 19 days from now it might be safe? Because there are millions of people watching this now who have their...
Now, let's be clear here. In 19 days, this virus will not be contained. The rate of growth of new daily infections is likely to have slowed in that time period. But even with the drastic measures that are being taken now, people will still be getting infected every day. And you will accelerate those infections if you attempt to reopen the economy too early.
Family fortune on the line.
Well, they have their family fortune on the line the other way, too. They're going to lose their jobs, maybe never to get them back. They're going to lose their businesses, never to get them back. We want to start up as soon as we can because we're going to have a very quick comeback if we do that. If we delay this thing out, you're going to lose more people than you're losing with the situation as we know it. So I think it's very important for our country to go back. And I've had many, many people, you know, when you said it was a little bit controversial, not to most people. Most people think I'm right about it. Now, whether we're locked in a room or whether we're in our office and practicing all of the things that we're supposed to be practicing, staying away from each other, you know, et cetera. It's not shaking hands, washing your hands all the time. But our country has to get back to work. Yeah, otherwise, it's going to be very hard to start it up again. We can't lose the advantage that we have.
So in conclusion, I do not believe that this is the end of the bear market. I believe that in the coming weeks and months, we will eventually see more downside and likely lower lows before this trend reverses and the next bull market begins. I think that attempting to reopen the economy too early would be counterproductive and would not lead to the great economic recovery that many people seem to think it would. And so personally here, I will not be buying into this rally. I will be sitting and waiting for lower prices to continue averaging into great companies over time. I hope you all have enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy, don't forget to like and comment and subscribe for more similar content like this in the future.